What would it take to change the world? Provide food to the hungry and water to the thirsty. Teach children to read and keep them healthy. Shelter families and train a new generation. Give the poor a chance to better themselves. Create a worldwide network of peacemakers and conquer a disease that has killed or crippled millions. Could one person do it? What about 1.2 million?
My name is Frank Wessel.
Tamara DeWitt.
Gaston Cabate. Draper.
Eu sou Adélia Vilas.
Dr. Naresh Goyal.
Meu nome é Awal Mau.
Gary Parrish.
Warren Kaufman.
Lisa Simmons.
Eric Kimani.
Meu nome é Eduardo.
Singh Arora.
Megan Coutinho.
These men and women are changing the world. They're members of Rotary. Professionals and community leaders organized into more than 32,000 clubs worldwide. They volunteer at the local, regional, and international levels and dedicate themselves to a simple motto: service above self.
That's what Rotary is all about. Vision to see, faith to believe, and courage to act.
So many of us, we sit back and we go, gee, I'd really like to help somewhere in the world, but I don't know how to do it. And Rotary gives you all the tools you need.
Personalmente tengo.
Just the fact that you are a Rotarian opens doors all over the world.
For members of Rotary, no project is too big. Working with UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and the CDC, Rotary has immunized more than 2 billion children against polio and reduced the disease by more than 99% worldwide.
With not too many dollars, these Rotarians and our partners are doing a tremendous job, very effectively, very efficiently.
Rotary has spent more than $500 million on international scholarships and foreign exchange, while its graduate-level programs in conflict resolution train peacemakers from around the world.
When I started working for Interpol at the United Nations, I already had the background to understand international relations.
For Rotary members, the reward is immense and immediate.
Helping others is one of the things that they really enjoy. It makes my day.
The salary I receive spiritually is so huge that you cannot put a value on it.
Being a Rotarian is almost selfish. Yes, I help people, but I get so much in return.
When our world seems senseless and even hopeless, Rotary Club members of all races, colors, and creeds join together to care.
Hopefully we can bring some hope and some help, emotionally as well as physically.
To protect.
The job that is to be done can be done.
To connect.
But no one has a dry eye at the end of these projects because the kids will come back and ask for a picture with their doctor.
And to make a difference.
It is possible because we are Rotarians. We can do it. We should do it.
But even for 1.2 million volunteers, changing the world is no easy task. Learn how you can become involved.
It only takes a drop to make a river. And all we have to do is just make sure that we are in the right direction, we are committed to it, and it will get done.
Rotary International. Ordinary people working together to accomplish extraordinary things.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for this month's Rotary Works Professional Development Session. My name is Darryl Keys, and I'm a proud member of the Rotary Works Initiative. I'm happy you've joined us for our October seminar on career development strategies. As part of Zones 33 and 34 program, Rotary Works offers professional and skills development seminars, coaching, connecting, resources, posting and finding job opportunities, and small grant support. Learn more by typing rotary.works in your browser. Our program today is on personal branding. Why should I care? If you're like me, your first question might be, what is personal branding? Personal branding is how you are perceived and how you can position yourself or influence that perception. If you want to move up the ladder, increase your income, have more responsibility, or increase your circle of influence, you have a lot of control over how successful you might be. To help us learn more about what personal branding is and isn't, what you need to know, and how you can craft your personal brand, we're excited that we have engaged two people today who look at this topic from different perspectives. Whether you're 25 and launching your career, 35 and building your career, or 55 and looking for an encore career, all of you will be able to take away information that will help you create a personal brand. Emma Loggins is a creative and digital marketing geek who started Excite in 1998 at the age of 14. Working with both B2B and B2C businesses in a wide variety of industries, she is also the founder and editor-in-chief of fanbolt.com. You might want to check this site out. There are geek cocktails, geek cooking cookbooks, a well of information on films, celebrities, and also travel. Due to her fan support, she's become an influencer for such brands as Warner, Universal, Auto Trader, Visit Scotland, AT&T, Target, Coca-Cola, and many more. And if that's not enough, Emma launched an additional brand, Women's Business Daily, a website targeted at motivating and inspiring millennial female entrepreneurs. Emma has clearly mastered personal branding. And most of us will also know Terry Weaver as the consummate Rotarian, a member of Rotary Works, an incoming Rotary coordinator, a past district governor, a membership numbers expert, as well as a major donor, Paul Harris Society member, benefactor, and bequest society member. But he's speaking to you today as a businessman. His experience as a Fortune 100 VP, a mid-cap company president and chief operating officer, and round trip, that startup growth and sale entrepreneur, provides a unique perspective to his current work as a business coach. Terry's business coaching practice is sort of very new and also looks at an encore career that produces a nice income while only working for a few days each month. So Terry also has mastered personal branding. So I'd like you to join me today to give a warm welcome to both Emma and Terry. Thank you.
Thank you, Darryl. Great to see everybody today. Why should I care about personal branding? Maybe, perhaps, you're retired or still interested in making a difference. Maybe you're semi-retired or looking at a term I like, which is a career downshift. Perhaps you're about to retire or looking forward to retirement. Late in your career, middle of your career, early career, who cares about personal branding? My answer would be everyone. Yes, you have a personal brand, whether you like it or not, whether that was intentional or not. So what is it? Jeff Bezos says that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Forbes magazine says it's the unique combination of skills and experiences that make you who you are, and it is how you present yourself to the world. You might think of it as your professional reputation. So what's the value proposition? I've got a job, I like it, I'm happy in it, I feel secure in it. Why is personal branding important to me? Well, the big value proposition, I think, is in the self-awareness of exploring your personal brand, trying to determine what that is and how you might promote that. And what that does is it gets you in touch with who you are, more importantly, who you're not, and what is your career sweet spot? What is it that you can say, I'm good as anyone and better than most at? Now, in my particular case, I would brand myself as a small business coach. I am as good as anyone and better than most at helping small business owners increase the value of their business. And I have helped small business owners and their employees become millionaires over time. Cultivating your personal brand is about articulating your gifts, skills, and talents, being actually able to describe, some people might call it an elevator speech, what it is you're good at. Then claiming the high ground. What is it that you're as good as anybody and better than most at? Then reading and studying, enhancing those skills, doing some skill building, some mental weightlifting, looking for articles, looking for books, looking for videos on those particular topics and those particular skills, really working it in terms of enhancing your skill set and deepening your knowledge base in that narrow area of your personal brand. And then practicing, looking for opportunities where you can exercise those skills. You know, those abound. In my case, it's in my volunteer life as well as in my business life. Finally, then, starting to post some personal original content, tailoring your LinkedIn profile, other online posts, perhaps Facebook, other social networks, or perhaps starting your own blog. It's not that hard to do. You want to reinforce your brand by basically continuing to message, here's who I am, here's what I am, and I'm as good as anybody and better than most at my particular skill set. Now, during your career, if you're not looking for a job, if you're simply in a situation in a company that seems perfect for you, what it allows you to do is look for further career opportunities that are just a perfect fit for you. And you can do that in the form of taking advantage of opportunities to attend conferences, present papers, make presentations, get yourself out in front of the audience as your personal brand. Look for seminars or training offered by your employer. I've gotten some terrifically valuable training offered by my employer. Some of it didn't seem all that valuable at the time, but keep in mind, you want to set a pretty low bar in terms of your expectations for any given training opportunity. Today, for example, if I spend 1 hour on a webinar or looking at a video or reading something, if I get one good idea out of that, I'm pretty good. If I spend an afternoon in a seminar and I get 1 or 2 good ideas out of that, I'm completely happy with that because I've learned I can do a lot with a good idea. I don't have that many of my own, but I'm really good at making something out of them. You might look for opportunities to train other employees. As you get really expert at what you do, it's possible that others around the company might benefit from your knowledge. In my particular case, in the 1980s, I discovered a selling methodology in high-ticket, multi-million-dollar sales. And I thought, this would be valuable to my company. I started using it in my branch office that I was running in St. Louis. And sure enough, I made millions of dollars for the shareholders using that specific sales methodology. So I proposed to our training department, which is 3 states away in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, hey, I'll put together a sales training program on this particular methodology. They thought that's a great idea. It's something they didn't have to do. So I put that together, of course, and that was in the last century. We're using overhead transparencies. Some of you have never seen one of those, but we put that together, we delivered it, and you know, folks, I'm still using that material today. I've converted it, of course, to modern platforms and modern media. It also helps you do something that's important. You got to be careful what you wish for. When perhaps a promotional opportunity comes along, you want to assess that in the context of your sweet spot. And my suggestion would be just avoid situations and assignments that don't fit your sweet spot or perhaps widen it slightly. This idea of building around your strengths, God knows anybody that's been married has had plenty of help identifying their weaknesses. What you need to do at this point in your career, in most cases, is build around your strengths. It also helps you in responding to recruiters. When a recruiter calls up with a perfect situation that they're trying to pitch you on, because of course they get paid if they persuade you to leave the current situation you're in and go to some unknown situation that basically has been pitched to you. You can respond in terms of your sweet spot if you know what it is. So you just start asking questions about that lead you to an understanding of whether another job opportunity actually fits your sweet spot or not. And the same applies to promotions within. I have promoted and seen countless people promoted to jobs that they just didn't fit. I have, in my corporate life, more than once suggested to somebody that they step back from a job that they are failing at, back into something they were good at. And I've had a pretty good track record of life-saving merit badges in that respect, because just not every job is for every person. So when you're looking at a promotion within, again, be careful what you wish for. Take a look at that job and really, really drill into it to find out whether it, in fact, trades on your sweet spot or not. This would be, of course, your key to an active job change search. If you're in a situation right now where you can't say, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this, that's what work is supposed to be about. And it took me a number of years. I found one of those jobs when I was in my 20s and 30s. And then the next one, I was in my 50s before I found a job where I was saying to myself, I just can't believe I'm getting paid for doing this, which is where I am right now in this business coaching thing. I can't believe people pay me for this. So what does the end game of all this look like? Well, the end game, I believe, looks like an encore career, meaning something that you could do on your own time when you're no longer working full-time on your own terms. I work at this little encore career I've got about 5 days a month. And you want to work at something that you just really love doing, something where you say, I can't believe this. Weekend before last, I left our zone event in Naples, flew to Oklahoma City to join a client and his management team bass fishing, and they paid me for it. I can't believe I get paid for doing this. And it was a great event. We had a 2-day management retreat. It happens that this is a client I've been working with for 17 years. And the management team at this retreat was larger than the company was when we started this 17 years ago. It provides wisdom and value to your clients. And you can probably tell from my conversation here, I think making a difference in a lot of people's lives really matters. Folks, that's the only thing you leave behind, is the difference you made in other people's lives. And in Rotary, we realize that can be through our vocation. Vocational service and vocational business is hard to discern the difference. Nice supplementary income. And again, you may find yourself saying, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. So if you're in your 40s or your 50s, start thinking about crafting and honing that personal brand. Now, if you decide that you want to retire and play golf or travel full time, that's fine with me. But you might think that, maybe I could keep my hand in the game, keep my network alive, and make a really decent supplementary income to my retirement in an encore career where I'm making a difference in other people's lives. So how do you do this? How do you create this personal brand, you might be asking? Well, to fill us in on that, I'd like to hand this off to my friend, Emma Loggins. Emma?
Hi. Hi, everyone. I am excited to be here today and thankful for the opportunity to speak with you all. For this presentation, I want you to adjust your mindset, and I want you to think of yourself as the product you're trying to sell. You are your own brand. So what does this mean? When someone mentions your name, what do they say? What do you want them to say? When your reputation precedes you, this is personal branding. There's a quote I absolutely love that says, personal branding is the difference between Who are you? And thank you for being here. So how do we get to the thank you for being here? We get there by personal branding, which is the process of marketing yourself as a brand. It's the process of developing a consistent message about you, your skills, and your knowledge. And it helps differentiate you from your peers and your competitors as an expert in your field, because you're able to communicate the essence of who you are, what makes you unique, and what value you bring to the table. This is something that can be achieved through social media, your website, and other online platforms. And it's something that can help you not only find new clients, generate new leads for your business, land a new job, but it can also just help increase overall awareness of who you are. So how do you build a personal brand? I started teaching this as a much longer course with Women's Business Daily, but we're going to go through a condensed version today. Step 1 is to create a niche for yourself that is unique and specific. Whether it's your client, your customers, your employer, people want to know what you can do for them. So you want to focus on a specific subject area. Let me give you an example. This is my personal branding. I call myself the Geek Girl. I have 3 different hats that I wear. I'm the founder and director of strategy for Excite Creative Studios, a design and marketing agency I started when I was 14, over 20 years ago. Actually longer than that now. I need to update that stat. I'm also the founder and editor of Women's Business Daily, a site that's targeted at female entrepreneurs and career-driven women. My content there mainly revolves around professional and personal development. And lastly, I am the founder and editor of fanbolt.com, which is a geek lifestyle and entertainment news site. So it seems like a lot. I get that all the time. And a lot of people don't see the correlation between each of these, but they're actually all related. Each one of these are a separate profitable business. And those last 2 are actually the biggest portfolio pieces that Excite Creative Studios has. It allows me to showcase what I can do for clients because I've done it for myself. I create brands that have strong digital presence, and I create content that is optimized for Google. I grow and maintain these sites and these brands. So I've branded myself the Geek Girl. Makes a little bit more sense in that context, right? I love design, I love programming, and I geek out over it in the same way I geek out over Star Wars movies and Marvel movies. So whether I'm posting about being on the set of Stranger Things, interviewing the cast for Fanbolt, or I'm posting motivational posts about starting your own business and growing it, or I'm posting about a new mobile app or website I've launched for a client, all of this content falls under my Geek Girl branding. The perception of geek tells people that I'm knowledgeable, excited, and that I have a lot of fun with my job. Every day that I go to work, I can't believe that I get to do what I do. I absolutely love it. And wouldn't you rather have someone like that working on your projects than someone that's just doing it because it's their 9 to 5? This is the story that I tell through my social media accounts, my websites, and my in-person interactions with people. So I want you to take this concept and apply it to yourself. My challenge for everyone today is to pick a hashtag that describes you in the same way that I'm the Geek Girl. Who are you? And I challenge you to share this with me on social media, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Share with me your personal brand hashtag and tag me at Emma Loggins. So after you've established your niche, which is the foundation of your personal brand, the next step is to become a storyteller and tell the authentic story of you. You need to know your purpose, know why you're in the room. And once you have the answer to this, you need to simply find a memorable and genuine way to tell that story to the world. I always say that great marketing doesn't feel like marketing at all. Instead, it tells a story. And the most effective personal branding strategy is telling your story. Build a narrative of who, what, when, where, how, and why. Who are you? What do you do? When and where do you do it? How do you do it? And why do you love it? The easiest way to do this is by sharing knowledge. and doing that through social media. Simply put, if you're an expert in your field, share that knowledge with the world. Establish yourself as a thought leader. It can be something as big as signing up for speaking opportunities or podcast, becoming a mentor, or maybe even self-publishing a book. Or maybe you reach out to a website like Women's Business Daily and offer to contribute content in exchange for a platform to establish yourself as a content expert. We do this all the time on Women's Business, and it works wonderfully, not only for us, but also for our contributors, because they have a platform to establish themselves as a thought leader. It can also be something as simple as signing on to LinkedIn and sharing tips or interesting articles with your connections or followers. Try to share a post daily if you can on whatever platform you're on or target audience is on. The more frequently you post, the more you're going to show up in feeds of those that are following you, and the more that your followers will have an opportunity to engage with you. Next, you need to be consistent. If you're consistently creating content about your focus area, it's much easier for you to get recognized as a voice in that space. But consistency isn't just about posting regularly online. It's also about showing up, both online and off, and showing up with that same brand voice when you do. If I ask you to picture Coca-Cola's branding for a moment, you instantly see that can of Coke. You see the logo, the iconic shade of red. You can probably even hear the sound of the Coke can opening. If I showed you a series of products right now, you could quickly identify which one was Coke, because their branding and the content they put out. Their content is visually consistent, even when it's different or for different products like Diet Coke or Coke Zero. You need to apply the same logic to yourself. Even the tiniest of inconsistencies can poke holes in your brand and make people feel like you're not authentic. Next, it's important to remember to make an impact. You are your brand, morning, noon, and night. People that meet you are meeting your personal brand. So be sure that you're creating a positive impact, that you make people feel good, motivated, and excited. Earlier, I mentioned the importance of being you, the importance of being authentic and sincere. A personal brand is something that should follow you everywhere you go. It should amplify who you are and what you stand for, and it should create a positive impact. So at the beginning, we talked a little bit about how personal branding is the difference between who are you and thank you for being here. If someone is familiar with you before they even met you, or they get online and they do a search for you, you want them to be impressed with what they find. Many employers use social media to research potential candidates before making a hiring decision. You have an opportunity with your online presence to make yourself stand out from the crowd, whether you're looking to start a new job or impress a new client or customer. Make the most of this opportunity. And if a statement or a piece of content is something that you wouldn't be comfortable with your employer, your coworkers, or your clients or customers, basically everyone you know seeing, don't post it. Remember, create a positive impact. And that is all I have. So here's my contact information, and I think we're going to switch over to a Q&A now.
Yes, thank you, Terry and Emma. Great presentation. In fact, you are already in demand, so take a note of that. I think somebody will be reaching out to you. We did have a comment in the chat that talked about personal branding being too narrow, that it could reduce our opportunities. And so I was curious as to your comments about how you might describe your sweet spots more broadly. And I'll throw that to either one of you.
Well, that probably relates to some of the comments I had. And the fact is that to get as good as anybody and better than most takes about 10,000 hours of practice. And people many times get themselves spread a little bit broadly and don't ever really get good at something. So my suggestion from a career development point of view is get really good at something and then broaden out from that. So you can think of it going broad and then wide. And I really do believe that is, from a standpoint of career development and building a reputation for yourself, that will work better than starting wide and then trying to focus in.
Emma, I think this one is for you. Would you suggest asking people what your personal brand is?
I would say yes. I would say that it's a wonderful way to get to know someone and understand a little bit more about them. One of the first things that I do when I meet with a client, especially if it's a new client that I've not met with before, is inevitably before the end of the conversation, it transitions to what do you like better, Star Wars, Star Trek? What's your favorite Marvel movie? And this creates a bond on a more personal level to where it helps with the professional side as well. And this is all a part of my geek branding. So being able for me to convey this to someone when I'm meeting them helps to give them a better understanding of me and vice versa.
Great. There's a question in the chat that is, how is it possible to create a personal brand without capital? And I'll throw that to either one of you because I think you both probably have a perspective.
I'm handing that one to Emma, but there has never, ever been a better time to build personal branding with no capital at all.
Absolutely. You don't need capital to build a personal brand. It can be as simple as sitting down, identifying your strengths, identifying your target audience. What does your brand look like? What is the color? What does it feel like? Look at other brands that have a similar feel to what you want to put out into the world. And then create social media accounts. It doesn't cost anything to set up a Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and start and go from there. You can post the lengthy post on LinkedIn, blog post even on LinkedIn, or you could start your own website. That does take a little bit of money to do, but getting started initially on social media is something that you can do with no resources. It doesn't require capital.
Years back, I bought a business that was actually very much like Rotary. It was a membership organization of business owners. And now I bought the business with capital, I'll give you that. But then I had to build my brand personally as somebody who really knew something about small business. And I actually had some help with that. A coach suggested what you do is, first of all, claim the high ground, claim I'm as good as anybody and better than most at that, and then start proving it. And I did that in the form of a blog article, about one a week. And during the 10 years I owned that business, I accumulated a library of about 250 blog articles. Now, those didn't take a long time. They were 300, 400, 500 words. And I'd pick up on an idea from something I read, heard, or saw, and then I'd just write a little essay about it. And of course, I was able to use that in my business promotionally by stitching 3 or 4 of those together in the form of a monthly newsletter to business owners, email addresses I'd accumulated. And each one of those pointed to 2 or 3 or 4 of those blog articles. It didn't cost me a nickel.
How do you, so many of us in the crowd here we're not as young as perhaps we used to be. So the question is, how do you improve your personal brand? So we probably, maybe many of us already have a brand out there. How do we improve upon that?
Want me to take that one?
Go ahead.
I'm doing Q&As. I never know when to jump in. I think it's sitting down and figuring out, again, what your strengths are and how you can kind of package that together and put yourself out there as a thought leader. It can be different than your brands. I mean, if you look at me, I have 3 separate brands that I represent, and they're all, while similar, they're also very different. So my brand is very focused, but it's also structured in a way that I could encompass all 3 of these. So I would say to sit down, identify your strengths, identify other people, other professionals and other thought leaders that have a similar position to what you want to position yourself as, and use them as a starting point. Look to see what they're doing and see how you can do it as well, whether it's, signing up for podcasts, whether it's starting to do blogs, whether it's, what the social media looks like, what the tone is. Look at someone that is doing it successfully or in your industry and see how you can do it better and in your own way, because at the end of the day, being authentic and genuine is the most important part of this.
And it's also about practice. Practice is not what you do after you get good at something. Practice is what you do to get good at something. And one of the highest compliments I get on occasion, not all the time, is, I'll step off a platform or finish up a webinar or a training session, and somebody will say, gee, that really looked easy. And I just respond by saying, you can't imagine how much preparation and practice it takes to make something look effortless.
Exactly. So there's a couple of follow-up comments really about circling around some of the things you've suggested, such as podcasts. Is there a cost related to that? How do you get started? What about blog articles? Where do you post? Do you blast emails? How do people find them if it's not on a very specific? So kind of a broad perspective there. So I think we'd start with podcasts and the costs, and how do you get started?
I'll hand that to Emma.
I've had a few podcasts over the years, and I've been on a few. I hate audio editing more than anything I've ever done, so I try to stay clear of it. But I love being on podcast, and it's very easy to approach someone to be on a podcast and reach their fan base, which is where I would recommend starting. Reach out to podcasts that are specifically in the niche that you want to be in. There's also a Facebook group, and there's probably a LinkedIn group as well, but there's a sizable Facebook group that is specifically for podcasters to meet industry professionals and guests and host for their shows. So I would recommend looking on LinkedIn and Facebook for groups where you can be matched with those individuals. As far as starting your own podcast, that is a larger endeavor, and there's a little bit of cost involved with that. But I would say just start with Googling it and or YouTubing it. There are so many great tutorials out there that'll help get you started. And if you don't mind audio editing just a little bit, then you'll be fine. I was a little too picky with my audio, and that is why I'm no longer doing it.
What about blog articles? Like if maybe you don't have a website, so where might you post those? And I can throw that to either of you because you both have done that.
Sure. A couple of ideas there. First of all, LinkedIn is almost intrinsically a blog. And your posts on LinkedIn basically become essentially a knowledge base. If you want to go just a little bit further from that, one of the Mac daddies in this business was called blogger.com. It was bought by Google. And so you can go into Google with just a Google ID and create your own blog with your own URL. Now, it'll be something nobody recognizes, but then you go to GoDaddy for $20 and buy a URL that characterizes your business, something that is descriptive of what you do. And without a great example off the top of my head, I have a friend here in South Carolina who's a process server. He serves subpoenas for a living. And he owns weservepapers.com. That's the kind of URL that you want. You buy that for $20 a year from GoDaddy, and then you point it over at this free blog that you've created. You've essentially built a website in an afternoon.
So I'm going to ask a question as a follow-up question, because once you do that, there's a whole art to writing blogs with certain keywords that probably reflect your personal brand so that somebody looking for that would eventually get to your blog. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes. I love SEO. SEO is where science and art come together, in my opinion, of content creation and websites. So I'll give you a general overview of when you're creating a blog post. You want to identify a keyword or a key phrase that in a perfect world you would rank on the first page of Google for. What do you want people to search for and find you? And with this post, you want to make sure that that keyword is in the title in the opening paragraph, in at least one subheading, and again in the closing. Now it gets a lot more specific and we could get a lot more nerdy with it, but that's a really good outline to start with. And look at the other sites that are ranking for this keyword or key phrase currently, and see about how long the content is. That'll give you an idea of about what Google is looking for in terms of word count. It's a great place to start when it comes to SEO.
And Terry put in the chat what SEO is. It's worth learning a little bit more about. We have a question from Nico about how can we communicate with members if we post a blog post or vblog to a Rotary District WordPress site that's powered by DACDB?
Great question, Nico. WordPress actually grew out of a blog platform. That's how WordPress got invented. Was originally a blog platform, and there is built into WordPress a blog. You simply turn that on in the background, and then you maybe link to that blog platform from something in your top side or side navigator. And yeah, WordPress has got a blog out of the box.
Great. And then finally, what if you want to change your personal brand? Well, it won't be finally because there's another question in the chat, but what if you want to change your personal brand? Is there an easier way to do that?
I mean, it's never too late to rebrand yourself. Big brands do it all the time. You see it all the time with logo refreshes or new products that they're releasing. It's definitely something that you need to have a strategy around. If your target audience has changed or your ideal client has changed or what you're doing has changed, then yes, sit down and kind of go through the branding process with yourself again. Identify what your strengths are and how you want to be positioned in the specific demographic and target audience that you want to reach. And then look at how that kind of flows out from there. What does that do to your social media? What does that do to your personal brand hashtag? And then start to just build it out from there. It's always something that you can do if you feel like you're not growing anymore or you feel like you're not hitting the right audience. Looking at a rebrand is something that you do, and when that is the situation you're in.
You are unwittingly participating in a rebrand today. We began Rotary Works a year ago as a career transition resource. We realize at today's stage in the market, pretty much anybody who wants a job has one. And so we are rebranding Rotary Works to focus on career development of people who are working. And this is how rebranding works. You just start changing your message, just start changing your program, and start changing your marketing content. We already have a brand. We just want to focus it more on people that are not looking for jobs, but rather have jobs, because there are a lot more of those.
So there's a few more questions that have come up. You guys have really generated some questions. Going back to the SEO discussion, where do you look in Google for keywords?
Well, I would ask anyone that is trying to figure out what are the keywords. Look at your industry. For me, as a web designer, I would go for Atlanta web designer, Atlanta creative agency, Atlanta graphic designer. I would have some sort of localized piece of content in there following what I do or the type of work that I'm looking to get. Whereas on Women's Business Daily, my keyword might be work-life balance or how do I do my taxes? And on Fanbolt, it may be Stranger Things season 4, Ozark season 4. It's going to be different for everyone. And you need to specifically think, if I was looking for me, what would I type into Google? That is the best place to start.
Okay, great. And then we talked a lot about emails, and so there was a question about email clients, how you might want to, like there's MailChimp, there's other kinds of that go along with CRMs. Do you have a preference? Do you, is there one that you might recommend?
I'm a big fan of MailChimp. I live in Atlanta. I was one of MailChimp's first 50 customers, and they just sold for, I think it was $12 billion. So I'm very loyal to the MailChimp brand. It's a great product. It's very easy to use, and it has a sense of humor to it, which I appreciate.
So as a follow-up question, MailChimp also is structured so that you have to get buy-in from everyone. Is there a shortcut, or do you just reach out to every single person to get permission?
In general, when it comes to email marketing, everyone that you're reaching out to, you want to have permission to reach out to them. So if you have an email sign up on your site, there's something where they can opt in. It's like a double opt-in. So someone just can't go and put anyone's email address and sign anyone up for any email list. Then you would get an email and you would say, yes, I want to be on this list. And then you're essentially verified with that brand to receive their email. That is best practice. That is what you want to do. In general, cold emails and reaching out to people is going to get you marked as spam. Going to get you blocked. It's not going to be good. So you want to be sure that the people you're reaching out to, you have permission to reach out to.
Outstanding.
And just a word to the wise there. The message you want to be sending to that audience is not buy something from me and here's what I have. That really doesn't work well at all. When I was writing this small business blog and writing this small business owners newsletter, every article was about an idea by which you can improve your business. Now, yeah, we had a little sidebar over on the right side that listed our upcoming events. Down at the bottom, it had a contact us, but it was really a digest of things that small business owners could actually use. And people will read that. If you're delivering them some value, I subscribe to a half a dozen different newsletters, some of them on personal investing, some of them on business practices. And I keep reading the same ones because I open it up and it's good stuff and it's stuff I can use. So, you got to get off of here's who we are, here's how wonderful we are, buy this stuff from us, and turn it around into where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Who's got a problem that's just bothering them, perhaps keeping them awake nights, that you've got a solution for?
One of the things I really like to say is think about the content that you're putting out and what you're putting on social media and your email marketing. Think of it like a cocktail party. You don't just immediately go up to someone and say, I do websites. You need me to do your website. You go up and you say, hi, I'm so-and-so, or what's your name? And you start talking, you let them tell you about themselves, and you start to build a relationship before you get to telling them about what you do and why you're good at it. It's important to have that in all of your marketing materials. You don't go in with a sell.
When you're networking, if you consistently interview people in the room, if you consistently ask people who they are, what they do, what they like, etc., what are some of their career accomplishments, almost like you're interviewing them for a job, they'll think you're the most interesting person in the room. And a great networker once told me, and I've lived by this ever since, never offer your business card. If somebody is interested enough in you to ask for your business card, you've made it. Now, it doesn't say you can't ask for theirs. Many times that'll prompt a request for yours. But boy, that changed my life from a networking point of view, is just, keep the conversation going. If it never gets to the point where they ask you for your business card, that's nice. You move on, talk with somebody else.
Well, this has been an outstanding discussion, and I want to thank again Terry and Emma for great words of advice. And I don't know about everyone else, but I'm taking away more than one nugget of information. So it has been well worth my time. Thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it back over to Daryl to wrap it up.
Thank you, Marcy. What a great presentations, and fantastic Q&A as well. I thought it was really a very useful Q&A with lots of good advice, tips, and information for all of us to take away. Hopefully, you can take away at least one idea, or hopefully many more, so that you can create your own personal brand or improve your personal brand. Now, please note the contact information on the screen for our two presenters today. And I'd like also to thank our behind the scenes tech support who make this magic happen. That's Terry Weaver of District 7750, who was one of our presenters and also did the magic behind the scenes, and also Marcy Ullum from District 6990 as well. Now, I'd like to remind you that Rotary Works career coaching is available to any Rotarian or Rotaractor who would like more individualized mentoring. If you think having a one-to-one coach would be helpful to your career transition, or if you wish to volunteer as a coach, visit rotary.works and look for the links in the right-hand column. Also, our Impact Fund is designed to support Rotarians and Rotaractors with a small grant that will ease concerns during unanticipated career transition. Any amount is appreciated, and if you'd like to donate, please reach out to me or any of the Rotary Works team. And finally, you're invited to get involved in our initiative. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me or any member of our Rotary Works team. We're always looking for more support and volunteers. Now, what a treat you've got next time. Look out for our next presentation and register for it on November the 10th at 5:30, when our webinar will be all about navigating the shark-infested waters of the workplace. Now that sounds like fun. So please register as soon as you can. And really thank you for attending today. It really wraps it up. I really appreciate you joining us. I hope you can take something away, and have a wonderful October. And we look forward to seeing you all again in a month's time. Thank you.